Welcome to the deep dive. You know the drill. You bring the curiosity, we bring the intel, digging through the sources to pull out the key insights. Think of it as your fast track to getting up to speed.
Exactly.
Today, we're jumping into the world of this, well, really intriguing tropical fruit that's been making some waves, soursop.
That's right. Soursop. You might have heard it called graviola or guanabana, maybe even Brazilian pawpaw.
Right.
And you shared a really interesting collection of articles plus a YouTube transcript. So our mission today is basically to unpack what these sources are saying about its nutrition and the potential health benefits everyone's talking about.
But also the caveats, right? We need the picture.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be pointing out the important considerations, any potential downsides mentioned.
A balanced view.
Okay, good. But before we get into all the science stuff,
Yeah.
can we just talk about how weird this fruit sounds in a good way?
Yeah.
I mean, the descriptions say it tastes like strawberries and apple, but with sour citrus, and it's creamy like a banana. It does sound like quite the combination.
Wild, right? Okay. Let's dive in properly then. What do the sources say nutritionally?
Well, they certainly paint it as a nutritional powerhouse. That seems to be the consensus. First off, vitamin C, really high levels.
Okay. Immune support, antioxidants.
Exactly. You got it. Essential for the immune system and, like you said, a potent antioxidant. Antioxidants, well, they're like the body's little cleanup crew, tackling those harmful free radicals that can damage cells.
Right. I remember the video transcript mentioned that too. Vitamin C and other things like quercetin, helping fight inflammation and free radicals, strengthening defenses. Sounds useful for, cold season.
Definitely could be. And it's not just vitamin C. The research points to a good range of B vitamins too, B1, B2, B3, folate.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the minerals, calcium, iron, potassium, magnesium, phosphorus, zinc, copper.
Wow. Quite the list. You mentioned potassium. That one seemed important in a few places.
It did. Several sources highlighted its role in helping the body balance out sodium. And that, in turn, can be good for blood pressure.
Yeah, I saw that. One article specifically said not getting enough potassium could be a risk factor for high blood pressure. So soursop helps there.
It seems to provide a decent amount, yes. Another thing that really jumped out, at least to me, was the fiber.
Oh, yeah. That number was huge. One source broke it down for like 1.3 pounds of the fruit, and it was 21 grams of fiber.
21 grams, that is significant. And, as the studies explain, that's a major plus for digestive health.
Keeps things moving.
Pretty much. Promotes regularity, helps prevent constipation. And looking bigger picture, one article mentioned a review linking high-fiber diets to a lower risk of certain cancers, like stomach and colorectal.
That's definitely interesting. So beyond the usual vitamins and minerals, were there other compounds mentioned?
Yes, things like phytosterols, tannins, and flavonoids. These are also antioxidants, plant compounds that offer protective benefits.
Okay, so it's clear this fruit is packed with good stuff nutritionally. Let's get to the part that's probably got everyone curious, the potential health benefits. The immune boost seems like a given with all that vitamin C.
Yes, the sources consistently link that high vitamin C content to supporting immune function, fighting off pathogens, neutralizing those free radicals, kind of a double whammy.
Digestive health, that's mostly the fiber we just talked about.
Largely, yes.
Yeah.
Adding bulk, drawing water in, just helping the whole system run smoothly. Crucial for gut health overall.
Okay, now, here's where it gets really interesting and maybe a bit controversial. The potential anti-cancer effects. This comes up a lot with soursop.
It does. And the sources offer some fascinating glimpses, and this is a big but with some really critical caveats.
Okay.
They talk about these bioactive compounds in soursop, acetogenins, phenolics, flavonoids, alkaloids, fancy names for active plant substances. And in lab studies, in vitro, test tubes, and petri dishes, and also in animal studies, these compounds have shown they might slow cancer cell growth, maybe even target cancer cells specifically. Breast cancer and leukemia cells were mentioned in some studies.
Wow. Okay, that sounds potentially huge, but I definitely remember reading some strong warnings alongside that.
And you're right, too. It is absolutely crucial, vital to stress that this research is very, very early stage. Lab studies, animal studies, that's mostly what we have.
Not much in people yet.
Very limited human research. We just
Wow.
don't know if these effects translate to humans. So the big takeaway here is soursop is not a proven cancer cure or treatment. No one should use it instead of conventional medical care.
Right. Talk to your doctor. Always.
Always. Absolutely essential. We're talking potential based on early science, not confirmed human benefits. There's a big gap there.
Okay, message received. That's super important. What about inflammation? Did the sources mention anti-inflammatory effects?
Yes, link back to those antioxidants again. By fighting free radicals and oxidative stress, they can potentially help lower inflammation levels in the body, like calming things down at a cellular level.
Makes sense. And blood pressure, we touched on the potassium.
Exactly. Potassium helps get rid of extra sodium, eases tension in blood vessel walls,
Hmm.
both good for blood pressure. There was one study mentioned with people who had borderline high blood pressure,
Yeah.
and drinking soursop juice was linked to a reduction.
Hmm.
But again, the researchers noted more studies are needed to really confirm how effective it is.
Okay. Another theme emerges, promising but needs more research. What about antibacterial properties?
Some lab studies, in vitro again, showed soursop extracts could fight various bacteria, even some nasty ones like those causing gum disease, maybe even cholera and staph bacteria.
In a test tube, though.
In a test tube, exactly. Doesn't automatically mean it works the same way inside a person. Need human trials.
And blood sugar. Anything there.
Animal studies again. Diabetic rats and mice showed some positive signs with soursop extract, lower blood glucose, better insulin sensitivity, things like that.
Interesting for diabetes research, maybe?
Potentially, but needs checking in humans. Same story.
The list keeps going. Ulcers. Did I read that right?
You did.
Yeah.
A review suggested some compounds might help with things like ulcers, and a rat study found soursop leaf extract reduced ulcers and stomach acid.
But no human studies on ulcers.
Not that were cited, no.
Okay.
Um,
And even weight loss. Really?
Yeah, one mouse study found that mice given soursop extract lost some weight, even though they were eating the same amount.
Ah, how does that work?
Good question. They didn't really explain the mechanism in the summary we saw, and you guessed it,
Needs human study.
needs human studies. Exactly.
It's amazing how many things it's been traditionally used for, though. The
Yeah.
sources mention that, too.
Oh, definitely. Long history in traditional medicine for all sorts of things: infections, fever, high blood sugar, anxiety, tummy troubles.
But not scientifically proven in people for those uses?
Correct. Traditional use doesn't equal scientific validation. Important distinction.
What about the leaves specifically? Are they different from the fruit?
Well, they're also packed with antioxidants. Again, lab studies hint at potential uses: headaches, insomnia, ulcers, even some cancers.
Needs human research. I'm sensing a pattern.
You're catching on. It's the crucial pattern here. Lots of promising lab work, but the human evidence is often lacking.
Okay. So we've heard a lot of potential. Now, we absolutely have to cover the other side, the risks, the warnings. This is just as important, maybe more so.
Couldn't agree more. A balanced view is essential. And there's some serious points. Several sources mentioned potential nerve damage,
Nerve damage, like what?
like symptoms similar to Parkinson's disease. This was linked to consuming high amounts of the fruit and tea made from the leaves. That's based on research findings, so it's a significant concern.
Wow, okay. That's sobering. Definitely something to be aware of. Anything else on the risk front?
Yes. Interactions with medications, particularly blood pressure meds and diabetes meds.
How so?
Soursop might amplify their effects. You could end up with dangerously low blood pressure or blood sugar. So if you're on those kinds of medications,
Talk to your doctor before trying soursop.
absolutely non-negotiable. Must consult your doctor.
And what was that about the seeds? I remember reading something specific.
Critical point. Do not eat the seeds. They contain toxic compounds, harmful if ingested. Always, always remove them completely.
Got it. No seeds. And it's worth mentioning, too, right, that some sources called out those overblown claims, like soursop being some miracle cancer cure.
Yes, very important. Some sources explicitly stated those claims are, frankly, bogus without reliable scientific evidence. Regulatory agencies have even stepped in against companies making those kinds of unsupported claims.
So the science just isn't there to back up cure claims.
Not at all. The preliminary research is interesting. Yes, warrants more study, definitely. But it does not support soursop as a proven cancer treatment right now. There was also mention of a specific compound, anonicin.
Anonicin, yeah.
It's shown neurotoxicity, meaning it can be harmful to nerve cells in lab research. A French food safety agency even flagged concerns about it, though they couldn't definitively link it to atypical Parkinson's in humans. Still, it adds to the caution.
So the bottom line on risks, moderation is key. Be really careful if you have nerve issues or take those specific meds, and always talk to a healthcare provider.
That sums it up perfectly. Moderation and consultation.
Okay, so for people who do want to try it, bearing all that in mind, how do they pick a good one and prepare it safely?
Good question. For ripeness, look for skin that's turning from green to a yellowish green. It should give just a little when you press gently.
Slightly soft.
Yeah, slightly soft. Then wash it well, peel off that spiky skin, and then, super important, cut it open and meticulously remove all the black seeds. Every single one.
No seeds. Got it. And how do people usually eat it?
Lots of ways mentioned. Just eat the raw pulp, enjoy that unique flavor, or blend it into juices, smoothies. Makes great ice cream, apparently,
Oh, soursop ice cream. Sounds interesting.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
And you can make tea from the leaves, but again, keeping in mind those potential risks with high consumption.
Right. Moderation, even with the tea. Okay, let's try and wrap this up. What are the main takeaways from this deep dive into soursop?
Well, clearly it's a nutrient-dense tropical fruit. Lots of vitamins, minerals, fiber, antioxidants. And there's this really compelling array of potential health benefits suggested by early research.
Potential being the key word.
Absolutely. The antioxidant, anti-inflammatory stuff, the preliminary work on cancer cells, it's intriguing stuff for researchers. And the fiber and vitamins are solid nutritional points.
But the human research is still really limited for most of these benefits.
That's the crucial caveat. We just don't have strong confirmation in people for many of these claims yet. So consume it moderately, be aware of the side effects, especially the potential nerve issues and drug interactions.
And never eat the seeds?
Never eat the seeds, absolutely. Remove them thoroughly.
You know, this has been fascinating. It really makes you think. With its long traditional use and these tantalizing hints from the initial science, what else might we learn?
Exactly. What could more focused research into those specific compounds, like the acetogenins, actually uncover about how they work in humans? It definitely feels like a space to watch.
For sure. Well, hopefully this deep dive has given everyone listening a clearer, more nuanced picture of soursop, the good, the potential, and the important cautions, empowering you to be better informed.
That's the goal. Until the next deep dive.
Okay, so today we're going to dive into something that's been generating a lot of buzz lately.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's particularly in the men's health and wellness space.
I can see why that might be a hot topic. Lots of interest there.
For sure. We're talking about